meeting recording has started, so I'll call the meeting to order. It's our first in-person sort of meeting of the town of zoning board of appeals since the beginning of this pandemic. And the meeting is being held by hybrid meetings, I guess we're calling it. We have several people in attendance here at the Norton Media Center, but we've also published information on the agenda for remote access. And we have a number of parties with us by remote access tonight, including a couple of the applicant representatives that I recognize. I'm Tom Noel, I'm the chair of the zoning board. We have Mr. Wren and Mr. Tenore with us tonight. That constitutes a quorum, but we have a couple of quorum issues on individual items. Let's just start in. And also on the agenda, posted the means for remote access, including telephone numbers. So those telephone numbers are available to anybody who wants to participate remotely that way as well. And also Paul DiGiuseppe is here, our Director of Planning and Economic Development for the town of Norton. And Mr. Iafrede is here somewhere. There he is, Building Commissioner, to assist us as well. So let's just get going and see what we can do and hope for the best. We are still waiting though for one member, Lucas Wozniak. He's out of town, but he hasn't told us that he's not going to be attending, right? So we'll note if he chimes in to join us. But we may need him on
everything.
We need him on two of the matters.
3. Really?
Yeah, need them all 3.
Tipping,
I'll take that back. Sorry. Yeah,
2.
we can do
Tipping Place and Clap Street.
because we can do both.
Yeah. Okay, first on the agenda for 7 p.m. Just for the record, it's 7:03, so we're going to get started. First on the agenda for 7 p.m. is Zero Tipping Place. Attorney Peter Clark is here representing the applicant. Thank you, Mr. Clark, for coming back. And he's also extended the time that a couple of times that the zoning board can make a decision there. But Mr. Wren is recused on Tipping Place.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, so
Are you going to have is this other person, the needed person?
Mr. Wozniak has not told us he's not going to be here, but Paul, he's out of town.
That's what his email said.
I didn't see that email. I think he might have emailed to you, not to
Oh, I'm sorry.
us. Well, unless I got it, didn't notice it, but I don't think I saw that.
I didn't say it.
But we're hopeful that he is going to join us remotely. He has not yet.
I'll wait a bit.
Thank you.
We'll kind of just go with the phone.
Well, you've been more than patient.
We'll go with the phone. I'm game. I'm used to this. not
We should be used to it too, but we try to be smooth with that. Okay, so let's just put Tipping Place on hold for a few minutes anyway. At 7:05, we have to wait till 7:05, but at 7:05 is listed the application for the comprehensive permit, 253 Mansfield Ave. 7:10 is the application for 0 Taunton Ave, 53 Clap Street. But we have to wait till 7:10 to get to that. We have to go here in attendance physically for that. Paul, was there any other business that we should be aware of that maybe we could tackle in the next 2 minutes?
Well, one is it'd be great if we can add a few more dates for new meetings.
Sure.
Because we're only through July, so if we could get through all, I'd say September, that would be.
Why don't we do that now? We have what, is it July 14th that we've seen that?
Yes, July 14th.
Okay. So then let's look for one 3 or 4 weeks later into August.
The 11th or the 18th or the 25th. I would say on my end, hopefully we'll have an admin by then.
Yeah.
But I'm also with the Economic Development Commission. They meet on the 11th and 25th. So
Of August,
that's August, right? So, I mean, if you can, that would be great. If not,
The 18th is work for me at this point.
the 18th, what,
That works for me.
does that work for you, August 18th?
Yeah, I can make it happen.
I can as well, so can we set that? Paul?
Yeah.
Wednesday, August 18th, we will plan a meeting, and then we might as well look forward, get past Labor Day. How about something here, the 15th? You know, how about the 15th of September? We could do the 8th if we want it sooner, although that, I think that's right after Labor Day.
it is.
So
I can do the 15th.
maybe the 15th would be better. These are 4 weeks apart, I think. So can we do that?
I'm ashamed to admit it, my calendar's pretty open.
As long as your dance card is full.
Never admit that.
So September 15th, and why don't we block those in for now for planning purposes for any new applications. Okay, it's 7:07. We can get to the item on the agenda for 7:05, which is 253 Mansfield Avenue. This is an application for a comprehensive permit, Chapter 40B, affordable housing. The application has been before us for several months for a 60-unit residential unit at 253 Mansfield Ave, 15 units of which would be affordable under the state's comprehensive permit law, Chapter 40B. With us is, I see Ms. Sweet. Ms. Sweet, are you here to lead your group tonight?
I am. I'm also joined by our attorney, Paul Haverty.
Yes, Mr. Haverty, good evening. And so it's the two of you. Very good. Could you turn up the volume on our speaker in here just a bit? Is that possible? Yes, sir. Okay. Ms. Sweet, was there anything further that you were looking into after the last meeting? I don't believe there was.
There were two matters that we looked into and provided information back to Paul. One of them was that the board had requested that the developer have security in the buildings, security cameras and key fobs. So we simply took the language from the other comprehensive permit that you recently issued, and we suggested using that language.
Is that the cameras, the security cameras language?
Yeah.
I saw that. I thought that had been there before the meeting, but go ahead. And what was the second?
The other matter you asked us to look into was with regard to trying to provide a bus shelter. And we did find, bus shelters, but when we looked into the dimensions, our civil engineer basically told us that there wasn't any room to put it safely, given all the different constraints on the front of the property. So unfortunately, we weren't able to meet that request in the front, in the front of the building, and it made no sense to put it farther back in the building since the building is so close to the roadway anyway. The last item was, I think that you were looking for some language from Judy with regard to one of the paragraphs on affordability, and that was discussed a couple meetings ago, and I don't know that we saw that language, but at this point in time, the development team does feel that the permit is in good shape, and we don't have any new information to present to you, so we're hoping to possibly close the meeting and maybe have a vote.
Understood. Did Judy present some language? She had done some markup in May.
Right. That was the last.
What was the paragraph? Do you remember the paragraph number? Do you have the May version that Paul had done?
I never saw it. I know it was around B3 and it had to do with the affordable housing, the affordable fair housing marketing plan. But you know, I never saw the language. I think she might have sent it directly to Paul, so I have not seen it.
Um,
But I know that that Judy and Paul, our Paul discussed it, and
Yeah.
there didn't appear to be any issues with it. I just haven't seen it.
hold on for 1 second. Paul,
It's
been
been,
emailed to this week?
yeah, when you actually, I gave you the comments that Judy had. It was about the local preference.
Right.
It's B3.
Judy struck the local preference language, right?
Okay, she said it's not in the board's purview.
So what is the page number, Paul? And we can,
It's page 10.
So did she strike B4 for the initial rent up, the maximum number of affordable units?
Yeah, that got struck at the last meeting.
she said that wasn't within our purview. Is that the language you're referring to, though? That you were saying just now Judy was going to come up with some language?
I didn't realize that, so basically the town needs to ask for a local preference from the subsidizing agency if they want one. Paul, do you have a better recollection than what I have at this point as to what her concerns were? But
It got, I mean, the board took action and they struck it. They struck the language B4. I said B3, it's B4.
Did they strike all of B4 and delete it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the note from Judy that I remember seeing today, when I was looking at this today, was not within the board's purview, that the rules take over and provide, the rules provide for this mechanism. Do you have a different view of that? And Mr. Haverty is here too, counsel's here.
And
Maybe
just
he can help us out.
so I can just
Go
mention
ahead,
too,
Paul
we
first.
do not have a housing partnership. Because her point is if Norton has a housing partnership or another type of housing committee, local preference should be left to them to work out with the applicant's lottery. But we don't have that.
So does the town not want a local preference?
That's, I didn't understand that Judy's striking was conditional.
I'm gonna
Yeah, I
go,
mean, if you don't condition the permit
I
that you
understand,
want
yeah.
a local preference, then you're giving up the right to ask for
Right.
one.
I mean, I think you can keep it a lot simpler and simply state that, you know, there shall be a local preference to the maximum amount allowed by the subsidizing agency. And leave it at that, but if there's no language in there that states that the board wants a local preference, then there will be no local preference.
Let's be careful. We're talking about what's marked on page 10 of 30 as B4, and the latest version shows it's stricken. Do you have that here? Yes, you have it on your.
I have it, it's in the Dropbox as that, and I think Paul's looking at it too,
Yeah.
but it's in what,
If you don't have what we're referring to, I'd ask Paul to email it to you again now if you can. Although Paul, you had emailed it
I had
before?
emailed it before,
Okay.
so,
Maybe,
and I don't have internet access right now.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, the version, I haven't seen that version, and if you strike, I think her concerns were she didn't want the town to have the burden of providing, you know, the proof, and usually it's something that the town and the developer worked together on. My concern is, I mean, I think Paul Haverty, Attorney Haverty, is suggesting that you may want to still have something general in there, that it is something you're interested in if the state will grant it. Oh, Judy's here.
Ms. Sweet, Judy Barrett has joined us remotely, for the record, just as you were speaking in the last minute or two. Judy, if you can rejoin the conversation, we're talking about something that you struck from the latest version on page 10, section B4. Do you have that in front of you, or do you know what I'm referring to? Your note, sorry, Judy?
I know what you're referring to.
Your note said something like, your note in the document, which I can't see because we don't have we don't have the
I
electronic.
said it's not in your jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not in our purview or jurisdiction.
Affirm, tenant selection, affirmative marketing is not in the ZBA's jurisdiction. All I said is that it's fine to have a condition in the permit which says prior to submitting the affirmative fair housing marketing plan to the subsidizing agency, the applicant or proponent, developer, God, will send it to the planning department for review and approval. That gets the town in the loop, gets the town to weigh in on whether you want local preference, but doesn't have the ZBA putting stuff in the permit that really doesn't belong there. So it's a very, I don't mean to be exasperated with you, Tom, it's just, I'm sorry that this is even continuing to be discussed. It's just, it's a very easy fix. You do want to make sure the town gets a copy of the affirmative fair housing marketing plan. So you can say to the developer, hey, so the town can say, we want 70% local preference, we want whatever we want, and let the planning department work it out with the applicant before it goes to the subsidizing agency. You know, you're covered that way. But you're saying you want to make sure the town gets to review it and comment on it before it gets submitted officially. That's my recommendation. I mean, if you don't want to do that, that's up to you guys.
Nope.
I'm just saying, I think that's.
So
I'm trying
can
to
I, can I bring up the permit, because I think that we're talking about two different paragraphs, just so,
Go ahead.
okay? Yeah, I'm concerned. So this is the last version that I had. Judy, I think you're saying that under B3, that not only is the subsidizing agency going to review the marketing plan, but you also want the town, whether it's the ZBA or the planning board, whoever you choose to review the plan. What the town has told us is that they've struck this entire paragraph.
Yeah,
And if you don't put something general in the permit, then Mass Housing doesn't have anything telling them that the town is looking for a local preference.
I don't agree at all. I've done this routinely. And if the town is signaling before B3 is submitted to the subsidizing agency, if the town has a review role and the town of Norton at a policy level is saying, we want 70% local preference, the town is weighing in on the affirmative fair housing marketing plan, but the ZBA isn't the one who's saying what that should be. We spend so much time training ZBAs on what is in their jurisdiction and what is not. And we cloud it when we put this stuff in permits. I'm not saying that the town shouldn't weigh in. I'm just saying it shouldn't be in the ZBA's decision. Let the planning department work it out with the developer before it goes to Mass Housing. And then what goes to Mass Housing will say 70% if that's what the town wants to say.
Okay, so Judy, your position, your advice is, strong advice, is that we remove B4 entirely, and that still preserves the town's ability to declare a local preference. Is that right?
Yes, because you're going to submit to the town of Norton. The applicant's going to submit to the town of Norton prior to submitting to the subsidizing agency. Prior to the
Okay.
proposed affirmative fair housing marketing plan.
Right. So the language, and I think Judy, you added this. Was it, it says at least 2 weeks prior to submission.
Something like that, to give them time, to give the town time to respond.
The applicant shall provide to the Director of Planning and Economic Development a copy of the proposed affirmative fair housing market plan for review.
Right.
Okay, and we've never seen, my apologies, but we've never seen that language, so.
I haven't seen that language
Okay.
before. Now, Judy, I will say, having the town have approval authority over the affirmative fair housing marketing plan is actually inconsistent with the Ames variance.
Yeah, and I pulled back my language. I think review and comment is fine.
And that's,
I didn't hear Judy's
I don't think it would be an issue here. The language that we had, I don't think would have been an issue either. We're working cooperatively with the town. We're not certainly looking to take an appeal of any language. We proposed this language initially. But I do understand, your concern with regards to boards overstepping their boundaries.
Yeah, so you are correct, Paul. I mean, they can't approve it, but it's to review and comment on. And that should be fine. That should be fine.
That's what's drafted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's perfect.
I'm concerned that Lynn and Mr. Haverty have a copy of the what we're looking at.
I
I mean, if you just want to read the language for Paul and I.
The additional language for B3 is, at the end of the sentence, it says subsidizing the agency's fair housing requirements. Judy added, at least 2 weeks prior to submission to Mass Housing, applicant shall provide to Director of Planning and Development a copy of the proposed affirmative fair housing market plan for review and comment.
Oh, that's fine.
Agreed.
That's fine.
Okay, so we can keep that and then take out B4.
That works.
That's my recommendation.
Okay,
Excellent.
Paul, this works from our perspective as far as you're concerned. Okay. Ms. Sweet, can you look back in your emails while we're here to see if you have an email from Paul with that version?
Well, she would not have, I didn't send when we were going through, this is representing what we did at the last public hearing, so
Okay,
she would have received Judy's comments prior to the last public meeting.
okay,
I think that we're all in agreement with Judy's language and
okay.
we understand, I understand what it means so that when we go to do our marketing plan, we know we need to go into the town and we know at that point in time, the town may express their interest for the local preference. It's not something that I typically see, but it's helpful to understand it. So I think we're fine. I think that was
Okay.
the end of the open issues.
Okay, thank you. The other portion was the bus stop that Ms. Sweet says, the engineer says there's not enough room for a bus shelter in the front of the building. I thought that the applicant last time was fairly sure that they could find a shelter, even if it was a small shelter. Was this Mr. Campbell, the engineer?
Yeah, so Anthony found a bus shelter, which I think, we sent the dimensions to the town. It's certainly, it's not a cost issue. We cannot fit it there because of the competing interests of the setbacks, the state highway layout, the turning radiuses, the garbage dumpster. Jim Burke, who is the senior engineer on the project from DeSalle Burke, looked at the dimensions for the bus shelter and determined that there is not enough room in the front to safely put a bus shelter there. We also, again, we looked at the distance between the building and where the street is, and as compared to the other project that you approved, our building is much closer to the street. So believe me, I asked him, I begged him to try and fit this bus shelter on, and he basically told us it was a no-go.
Okay, well, board members, we have to discuss that. Do we, I don't have the exact plan sheet in front of me. That's one of the problems that we're having tonight with not having access. Do we have that plan sheet available, Paul, to put up?
I'll have to, let me log on.
I mean, I'm happy to share with you the shelter that, we looked at.
Sure.
But, one suggestion was we might be able to put something off the dumpster and that wasn't going to be safe either. So we did try to be innovative. We just can't give you the answer that you want.
Can you show us can someone show us on screen the layout that we were looking at last time? I don't know the plan sheet.
Let me see if I can bring the plan up. I don't know if this is the. There's a look on the date of the plan. I mean, this is. This June, okay, no, not June. April 2021, okay, we'll try this one. Hmm.
Yeah, I believe that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking of.
And so the issue is that I know that you were hoping that you could fit it here, and that's where he said no. And there's nowhere else here that it wouldn't be in a sight line or the state highway layout.
That I understand, but off to the side there, your engineer said was not feasible.
No, and this is I don't know, this is the shelter that he was looking at, and this is the smallest shelter that we could find. So we just, we gave the dimensions of that, and we were told it could not fit, so.
Due to setback or just due to there just not being enough space for construction?
Both, basically, yeah. And unfortunately, Jim had a conflict in Jim Burke, the engineer, and he couldn't be on tonight's meeting.
I mean, I kind of.
But we're within like,
I'd love to be a setback issue. Hold on one second.
yeah, we're within 25 feet of the street, so it's, the building itself, I'm sorry, not 25 feet, we're within, the building itself is pretty close to the street, so,
Okay, Mr. Redden,
Yeah, the only comment I was gonna make from the last meeting, my recollection is, I was kind of thinking this myself, but I was thinking it'd be a setback on the side. And I assume that'd be a 10-foot setback, and then, so I'm not, I guess, the only point is, I'm not entirely surprised that they're running into an issue here.
but if we write it in, the setback is waived.
Well, sure, sure. Well, that's certainly a valid point.
But the applicant's saying that they can't safely put it there.
right, it has footings and, it has to be of a certain width to make any kind of a difference.
I understand.
Yeah,
Nick, do you have, Mr. Iafrede, building superintendent, do you have any input here or?
My only thought is, and now we're on the last meeting, my only thought was initially, as far as the setback's concerned, I think the board has every right to grant a variance for that setback.
Yeah.
And have it be a non-issue, in my opinion.
The applicant seems to be saying it's a safety issue.
that width is less than 23 feet, and at least 10 feet of that is already taken up by the fire lane. So there's not enough room to put, the shelter and the footings in there, regardless of what the setback is.
Right.
It's not a wide, it's not a wide area to start with.
It would be tight, but as far as the setback is concerned, you have every right to grant the
Right.
variance, but it would be snug, even though it is an emergency, fire lane.
It's not in the emergency fire
It
lane.
wouldn't be in it, but it would be snug in there, Tom.
And
Okay.
we have the snow storage up front too, that we can't put a shelter there.
Yeah, and then we've got the dumpster, and that's why we set it as like a, an area where they would be standing. Unfortunately, it's an existing building that's close, that's got a lot going on in front of it right now.
Okay, members, any further thoughts on that?
I mean, and maybe Mr. Iafrede, maybe you can clarify for me a little bit, is it's a shelter is right up against the fire access. Is that a problem? I mean, so I guess in theory you'd have people standing in the fire access
Yeah,
road, but of course most times it's not being used.
no, only in an emergency case that it's getting used, so.
Right.
Uh,
I don't know if you could just have it. Is it okay if it's right at the edge of the fire?
you
Road.
would still want to leave some space off of the access with apparatus in and out.
Yeah,
Sure.
you want to leave a
You
couple
wouldn't want
feet.
to right up against the
Right.
asphalt there or
Okay.
that
Sure.
entranceway.
All right,
That
So
could limit,
members are
could
willing
limit
to-
site distance potentially.
willing to live without it. That's,
I mean, if it I appreciate the effort on trying to get one in, but if you can't get, I mean, you can't fit a round peg in a square hole.
Okay. All right, so those were the last two issues that we had to discuss, I believe. Paul, was there anything else that you can flag?
No, that was,
I mean, we have a document with the markups. Members have this. We can ask if there's any comment from the public and then move to close the public hearing. And if you desire, take a vote this evening on this to get this done. Then we have a period of time. I think it's 30 days, Judy, to get the decision written and signed?
you're on mute, Judy.
You're on mute.
It's 40 days.
I'm sorry. I was trying to behave myself, but I forgot to turn it back on. 40 days from the close of the public hearing.
Okay. I mean, that would give us time to get it,
Right, that's format.
the corrections all, saved and things of that sort. And I mean, I've been spacing the errors and things of that sort, but, okay, can I suggest something? Can I suggest that we table this for a few minutes so we can talk about the two applications, which may not be able to go forward tonight at this point, as Mr. Wozniak has not joined us. I'm going to, as chair, just table this for 5 minutes so we can talk about two other applications that we may have to continue. And I don't want to, there's a number of people here tonight waiting. So if you could just step back and be patient for 5 more minutes, I appreciate that.
Yes. Quick, do you have enough of a quorum to close on our permit though? And
Yes.
vote on it? Okay.
Yes, we do. The 3 members here tonight have been participating throughout, so yeah,
Terrific. Okay, thank you.
you're not the problem.
Mr. Chair, do you need me to stay on?
No, Judy, I think we're good. Thank you very much for joining us. I didn't anticipate that, but thank you.
Okay, all right. Have a good night, guys.
You too. Good night.
Bye, Lynn.
For the record, it's 7:33. I'm going to just ask the 253 applicant to step back for a moment. We can now go to Tipping Place, which was our first on, but we don't have a quorum to make that decision tonight. Mr. Clark. Our next meeting is July 14.
Fine if you want to continue it to, fall of the same, extension for, to the end of July to make the decision, same like we did last time.
That's what I would request. Yeah, that's what we would need. I think.
That would be acceptable to me.
My apologies to the applicant because we didn't know this, this whole new setup, the hybrid setup has messed things up a little bit as well.
That's fine. So, July 14th to make a decision. And,
Yeah.
Are you good if I'm not here on that meeting? Let's think
No.
that real quick.
No, we're not, because we need you and Lucas. Can I do this with 2 members? I would have to ask Amy.
I just don't know. I'm not gonna be I'm being in Aruba. I'm not gonna guarantee to have
Internet.
internet or cell. I mean, I could, you know what I mean? If I can, I could, but I don't want you to count on it and then.
No, I understand. Thank you for reminding me of that as well.
Because I think that would be a problem.
Yep. We're gonna have to check with council to see if who's available can vote on this in a pinch. Since one has recused himself, the other is no longer with the board. And we would have to have Mr. Wozniak and myself and Mr. Tenori then taking the vote. So either Jim would be able to join us remotely or council would have to tell us that we can take a vote with two members. That's the way I see it. Applicant is willing to continue to July 14 and give us another letter extension through July 30th, and that's appreciated. That's the only thing I can come up with at this point. I would ask Mr. Tenori if he would try to join us, but that may not be possible.
I don't know what the capability is. You know what I mean? And I don't want to hold you. You know what I mean? I don't want to hold you up anymore. But
Yeah.
Could we, extend to July for now?
Yes,
And
settle that before.
could you, as soon as we get down there, make a determination as to whether you're gonna have internet or not, and we can,
Or even telephone, I think, or does he need to be for remote participation? Does he have to be on, camera, internet? I have to ask Amy,
We have to, I'm sending her an email now.
I have to ask town council. All of this was unforeseen because our fifth member, resigned 2 months ago because he is now on the planning board. Thank you, Mr. Clark. We'll look for the communication, from you in the next.
yeah, so we'll extend to July for now,
And
and
then
then
we'll deal with those questions.
we'll, get the answers to those questions, and then we'll be able to figure out
Yeah.
whether, I just don't wanna come,
I know,
in July if we're not gonna.
I understand.
And that's why I brought it up.
So just in terms of logistics, we'll figure out.
We will solve it before then and talk before then informally.
That works.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll be there on the 10th, so I'll try and figure out something. I'll see. I don't know. It's a high. They should have internet, but you just don't know. I don't want you.
But you can try to
How
communicate with us.
about we trade places? I'll go to Aruba.
There you go.
That's a bold offer. That's,
My wife will feel about that, but
I just thought I'd throw it out
he's a
there.
nice guy.
she might like it.
I just thought I'd throw
Leave
it
me
out there.
behind.
Thank you for
That's a
your,
very personal bribe.
Yeah, right.
thank you for your understanding.
Wasn't it
Is
just
the other
Is there
option,
like a-
should we have gone that whole week? Is there another?
So I leave on the 10th. I don't come back to the 17th.
Yeah, we could schedule another meeting before that.
You could go before that. I'm down in Horn but that's 4th of July week. But I could do either one, either before or after.
We could try, but we don't know if Lucas can make the 7th.
Yeah, what if we did the 21st?
I could do the 21st. Are you back?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Why don't we continue this? How do I do this? To July 14, or should I just continue to the 21st?
Just take a vote to approve going to having a new meeting,
I
reschedule the
understand.
14th, and then continue this item to the 21st. So vote to accept changing from the 14th to the 21st, then vote on this item.
Well, do we have other things published for the 14th?
Not yet,
Oh, I see.
not yet.
So we could move the entire
Yeah.
meeting to the 21st
Right,
rather than the 14th.
right.
Why
Since we're
don't
so
we-
far ahead of schedule, we have a couple new items, but I haven't been able to
Publish it.
publish as it's way ahead of schedule, so.
That's a better solution that gives us a better chance.
Yeah.
So let's now say that our July meeting will not be on the 14th of July, it'll be on the 21st of July. And we will, with that plan of attack, is there a motion to continue Zero Tipping Place to July 21st at 7 p.m.? Can I make that motion? Jim, can you make?
I'll make the motion to move the meeting from the 14th to the 21st.
To continue this Zero Tipping Place to the 21st at 7 p.m.
And to continue Zero Tipping Place to the 21st at 7 p.m.
I will second the motion. It's a procedural motion. Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Wren, it's a procedural motion,
Yes.
and Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Okay, thank you.
We'll make it work.
We'll try to make it work, yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Sorry about that.
We'll look for your communication in the meantime.
So I'm confused on the motion. I just didn't think I could make a motion to continue a meeting.
Well,
A meeting that I
It's
wasn't.
it's a procedural.
Yeah, okay.
It's, you're not partaking in the decision. Next on the agenda is Zero Taunton Ave, 53 Clap Street. Applicant is asking for a finding under 175 1.5E. However, I am going to recuse myself from this application. This is a few hundred feet from my property. I wasn't within the range for notice, but this is at the top of my street, and I also know the family involved. I don't know these members of the family. I know other family members. And I'm going to recuse myself from this matter. Therefore, unfortunately, we lack a quorum for this matter tonight. We have Mr. Wren, Mr. Tenori, but we don't have a third member to hear this decision, to hear this matter and take a vote. I'm going to have to ask you to come back on July 21st and continue this matter to that date. Can you make that date?
Gonna have to. Yeah, we'll have to make sure Lucas is
Yeah,
definitely there.
we have some scheduling issues we have to get through offline in the next couple of weeks. Is there a motion to continue the 0 Taunton Avenue, 53 Clap Street to a meeting July 21st at 7:05?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Wren, how do you vote on that motion?
I vote yes.
Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Again, our apologies. A procedural issue, but we can't get around that.
Well, we know if we have a quorum, who is big fan.
We're gonna effort that and make sure that happens. Yep. I will, yeah,
Okay.
I sure will. And, thank you. We will be in touch. We have the contact information for the applicant, right?
Yes.
So we will be in touch if there's any other change on that. Thank you. All right, let's go back. We have Buddhist Drive also on the agenda for tonight at 7:15. Is there a representative for 15 Buddhist Drive?
Yes,
And your name is?
Diane Goodwin.
Okay, we're gonna get to you shortly, but we're gonna go back to 253 Mansfield Ave first, okay? Back to 253 Mansfield Ave, call this to the table again. I'm gonna ask, members, please speak up if you want any different procedure. I'm gonna ask if there's anybody in attendance from the public to speak in favor of or in opposition to the comprehensive permit application for 253 Mansfield Ave. If anybody is in attendance, please make your presence known. I see a couple other people with us remotely. For the record, nobody, Peter, Mr. Wiggins is here. Mr. Wiggins, I don't believe has a comment one way or the other.
I'm a favorite, and
Oh.
I live not too far from Mansfield Ave, and that place is busy with traffic at all times during the concerts. And I just attended a Mansfield Select Board meeting, they were discussing the concert, so the Xfinity Center the upcoming season.
Mr. Wiggins, then, Mr. Wiggins, your address is, for the record,
157 Mansfield Ave, Trail 43.
157 Mansfield Ave, and you are speaking, you're offering comments in favor of the comprehensive permit?
Yep.
Okay, even though it's busy there at the street?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. For the record, is there any other comment for or against the application? I don't see any. Mr. Di Giuseppe, nothing is on your screen as the commander of the video. Okay.
Now, Captain Video does not see
Captain
anything.
Video sees nothing, okay. Then this is, in my view, in line for a motion to close the public hearing. And then for discussion, we can discuss further, and then for a vote. Unless you feel that there's something else we need information on. Once we close the public hearing, we don't even ask the applicant for further comment or information. I think we're at the terminus point for this. Disappointed about the bus shelter, but I don't know more than that, and I don't suggest that we hold this up to find out more. Unless Mr. Iafredi has anything else to say to us. So is there a motion to close the public hearing on the 253 Mansfield Ave comprehensive permit application?
I'll make that motion to close the public hearing.
I will second it.
Mr. Wren seconds the motion. No further discussion. Mr. Wren, how do you vote on that motion?
I vote yes.
Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. The public hearing is closed for 253 Mansfield Ave. Now, discussion among the members. Is there anything else? Is there anything we need to discuss on this other than the work that everyone has engaged in, including Paul, Di Giuseppe, and Mr. Iafredi, of course, in offering their guidance and the information that they've been able to give us along the way?
I think it's been pretty well covered.
Yeah, I have no open questions or issues at this point, so.
I think that it's a good project for the town. The applicant has cooperated in giving in a few areas that we wanted to see some more detail in. I don't know that there were major changes that we, asked for or demanded, but some detail in the decision. We'll have an opportunity consistent with the decision that's here on paper to make, edits to that, but not substantive edits, in the next few weeks and get it wrapped up. Hopefully that we can get it signed before or at the July 21st meeting, so we can send this on its way. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I think, the applicant's been great and,
Yeah.
With getting what we wanted, and I think we've got a pretty good project.
60 units and 15 of which will be affordable under the state's Chapter 40B affordable housing law. I think that's a good development for the town of Norton. We've had some concern about traffic, but guess what? That whole area is only going to get busier in the next years, and it would be, I think, wrong to say to this applicant, you can't be the first to develop that stretch.
Right.
Norton ends a couple hundred feet beyond there anyway, so we're not going to be able to limit that growth in that area. If anything, the next step is going to be the state is going to have to expand that section of road. That's not within our purview, and this application, I think, fits with the road that's there now.
I've also learned, I don't know if you guys know that on the Mansfield side, I think they're putting in a traffic light right down at the end of Reservoir and 140.
But part of the new project.
Right part of that new project.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's gonna, not help with traffic, but at least slow it down from a
Interesting.
60 to a 20.
Is it that necessary there at Reservoir?
A lot of
Maybe it's
people
certain
need mile
hours of
left,
the day.
yeah.
I don't see it, I guess.
But they got the hotel there now
Yeah.
and all that, so, but with the addition of the traffic light, I think hopefully it helps.
I think when I moved here, we didn't have any traffic lights, and now,
Zero.
That's right. That's right. The first traffic light that was installed in Norton was back in December 1997.
wow,
I didn't remember that one.
very good, very good.
That's right, Tom?
Very good history, Peter. Thank you. That's interesting to hear. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
And the light over at the 123 exit 10 is up, but it's not operational still. I guess this.
It's coming up.
Next week.
Oh, we know that?
The expectation is next week, they're supposed to be paving
Ah.
20th and the 21st at night. And then the hope is that soon after that, those lights are working.
They have to let those blink for a certain amount of days, correct me if I'm
I
wrong,
think so, yeah.
so people get used to lights being there.
I see.
Yeah.
That's just operational. Okay.
Yeah, but I think they're gonna be fully
Yeah.
operational, hopefully the next week or the week after.
It's like-
Pretty quickly after.
like
the
60 days or something like that, I don't
We
know.
didn't ask the applicant if they wanted to amend their application, given that there's another traffic light.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
their doorstep. We can't do that now. They'll have to.
Public hearing's closed. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Just think about resubmit the
Don't,
whole
don't nod,
application.
don't make faces. We can't consider that. Okay, then, do we do this in separate votes? The votes are recorded in the draft decision. Can we just do the one vote to accept the votes within
I thought we did. I don't remember the last one we did.
as stated in
Well,
the
the
decision?
last one we did,
I thought we took this one.
we did it by section, so accepting. So we have that, we have some votes. If you go back to under jurisdictional findings on page.
Yeah, is it the first page
3.
4?
There's some votes on page 3.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, well, we can do them individually. This decision will reflect the following, and I will ask for a motion and a vote. Voted at today's date, June 16, the board voted to find that the applicant is a limited dividend organization under 760 CMR 5602. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Ren seconds. I guess we're still on remote status. Mr. Ren, how do you vote?
I'm sorry. I vote yes.
Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes. The decision will also contain the following vote, that on this night, the board voted to find that the project eligibility letter, CAL, satisfies the requirement under that statute that the project be fundable by a subsidizing agency. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Ren, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes. The decision will reflect that on this date, the board voted to find that the applicant controls the site as required under 760 CMR 56041C.
I will make that motion.
And I will second it.
Mr. Ren, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. The decision will reflect that on this night, the board voted to find that subject to the reservations and express conditions set forth in this document, applicant satisfies the jurisdictional requirements under that section.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second it.
Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Ren, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Let's help me out here, page. We're moving. That may be it on the individuals.
That, I believe, is it, then we would,
Take a vote
on the
on the conditions
right,
and and then a vote on the
comprehensive permit, the waiver list.
waiver list.
So,
Okay, the decision is on page 24, my page 24. In consideration of the foregoing, including the plans, documents, testimony given during the public hearing, which ended tonight, board hereby grants the applicant a comprehensive permit for the construction of 60 rental apartment units pursuant to Chapter 40B, Sections 20 to 23 for the development described above. And the above is this decision in the form that we have, which is dated May 12, on the version of the document, May 12, 2021, that we've been reviewing with the waivers that we will take a vote on separately in just a moment. Is there a motion for this approval of this vote
I'll make a motion for the approval of this vote.
with these conditions? as
These
stated?
conditions.
Mr.
as
Ren?
stated.
I will second that.
Mr. Tenori, how do you vote on the vote to approve this comprehensive permit with the conditions as stated herein?
Yes.
Mr. Ren?
Yes.
And Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Separately, whether they should be or not, is a list of waivers that were submitted and discussed. It's Exhibit B in this document. The decision on the waivers are as stated. I will ask, some of these were deemed unnecessary, others we would vote to pass. As stated here, is there a motion to approve this list of waivers as appears on Exhibit B?
I'll make that motion to approve the decision and waivers as they appear under Exhibit B.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? I've gone over these in prior meetings. Mr. Ren, how do you vote on the list of waivers?
I vote yes.
Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. I think we are done. Paul?
I think you have voted on
Okay.
all of them.
To the applicant, I'd like to thank the applicant, Mr. Haverty, and Ms. Sweet, you're the representatives here tonight for helping us through this. You've been very cooperative, very helpful, and I feel we've worked well together to get this done. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Are we okay?
Sorry, I just want to make sure under the recorded vote, it says May.
Well, the dates,
No, I just wanted to make sure, just while I
Yeah.
was here, sorry.
no, that's
I
okay.
went through it.
Wait, we have to start over. No,
You missed it.
Thank you for your participation and your efforts. We will hold you to the good efforts that you put forth. We want a good project. We want good construction for the town of Norton. But we have confidence that you will see that through, and we will have something that benefits the town. We will work on this just editorially, not substantively, and we'll get it done as soon as we can, but at least
To town council too.
town council as well, okay. I thought she had seen it, but we will get this done and signed in the next few weeks, and we'll keep you in the loop as to that. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Mr. Chairman.
Good luck. I don't know what our tally is now for the town, but that's good that we have approved 2 this year or in the last 6 months.
So it's 160 units. That puts us, the 195 put us over 10%. This will help us, especially with the new census coming out. We've seen preliminary estimates that we grew by about 1,000 people between 2010 and 2020. What that does to our threshold for subsidized housing, we don't know yet.
Also, I'll remind the members that these lists are a little freaky because old projects that we approved so many years ago that haven't been started are only given so much time, then they fall off the list. That's been a source of frustration, but I don't know where we are on that. We'll find out again when the new figures come out.
Well, as soon as we sign off on it,
Yeah.
and it's stamped by the clerk, I send this off to the Department of Housing and Community Development. Automatically, that day, we'll calculate it as part of our subsidized housing inventory. It was that quick. It was like an hour later I submitted 195, so.
But I don't know if old projects that haven't been constructed yet continue, if they fall off.
How many are
Some
there?
are in perpetuity on the list, even though they're not in reality.
I thought that they had
Are
to
they
be
really?
developed within a certain,
It's,
they had to be developed within a certain amount of time, but we can solve that later.
Yeah.
Just discuss in general. We have another applicant who's been patiently waiting, and thank you for doing that. But let's get to that right now. For the record, it's 7:58. We have an application for 15 Buddhist Drive, Diane Goodwin, and Ms. Goodwin, is that you with us?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your patience while we got through the other issues.
You're welcome.
Are you going to present the application for us tonight, or do you have a representative to do that?
Have a representative.
Who's that?
Hello, this is Craig Siganowski of Riv Engineering.
Yep, thank you.
Prepared the plan for you.
I'm just getting your application.
I think Mike want to answer.
yeah, there's,
Not that large.
If not, I get on my phone.
This is an application for a parcel in the R80 zone. The applicant is looking to, I think, construct a barn, 24 by 36 feet. As shown on the plan of record, for the record, it's dated May 7, 2021. Mr. Siganowski, who's here with us tonight, it's his stamp on the plan. Am I correct that the application is simply to erect this proposed barn at the site and not to do anything with the residents? Is that right?
Correct. The lot is pre-existing non-conforming. It was created in 1989 when 60,000 was required. And now we're in the 80,000 zone. The barn is the only thing we're proposing, and it conforms to the 10-foot minimum setback from the property line. We're outside the 100-foot buffer zone from the wetlands, so really we're just asking for approval of the lot being pre-existing non-conforming.
This is under 1.5E, a change or alteration or addition to a pre-existing non-conforming use. Interesting that this is not something I run into a lot. The zones changed at some point. In other words, this wasn't pre-existing. Well, the question here isn't whether it was pre-existing at the institution of zoning, but it was a different zone then, and the town must have changed zones. Mr. Siganowski, do you know the history?
in 1989, the lot was approved through the subdivision process, the planning board. We actually did the plans back then, so it conformed to zoning at the time. At some point in the history of the town, the zone became R80 instead of R60.
Yeah, I don't remember when that process was, but
So Craig, it wasn't part of 10 years later when the town rewrote the new residential zoning districts,
It's possible, I don't know exactly when you changed the zoning.
99.
98, 99 time frame.
So the original subdivision was approved in 1989,
Yeah.
okay,
predates that time.
all right.
Interesting. Out of curiosity, are there other lots within the subdivision that are R80 or are they all R60 or at least ours?
Are they all R80 now?
Yes, and that area is,
Well, I guess what I meant was they're all R80 now. I guess are all the lots 60,000? Yeah, undersized.
well, a minimum 60,000. There are some oversized due to the wetlands, but in the drainage easements, but the minimum size at the time was 60,000 square feet.
So as a matter of fairness, as well as 1.5E. And 1.5E, I think, applies to the institution of zoning. The language, I believe, we need to be broad enough that we made a zoning change on them.
Yeah,
So it's not the institution zoning, but it's a zoning change that the town made.
yeah. Yeah, Chairman, I think it was my own curiosity because I'm not quite sure why the town would think of an R80.
Well, I guess we drew the lines a little differently and probably not targeting that neighborhood,
Yeah.
but targeting some broader push for other undeveloped land out there. I was just curious too.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dilemma.
Well, this whole area is zoned R80, and there, like Craig said, there are some parcels that are 60,000, others are more than that, but a lot of wetlands on here in this area too, so
But it was our 60 before.
I don't know.
You don't
Craig,
know.
Craig would know better than I,
The engineer
but
is saying.
there's thousands of parcels in town that have legally, non-conforming uses on them because the lot sizes don't conform with
Yeah.
our zoning district, so that's gonna be something we're gonna have to look at after the master plan is approved, that we need to take a good hard look at the bylaw. But one of the things we need to look at is, do we, is it appropriate to start looking at new zoning districts that might conform to this
To
or
existing
to
conditions.
existing conditions? And it's, my goal is to reduce your workload.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, this is kind of
Well, the addition to 1.5 is at 1.6.
I get paid by the hour, come on now.
You do?
We'll double and triple your pay.
I just never put in the hours, I guess. I guess I forgot my time card all these weeks, years.
We owe you 21 years of
Yeah,
pay.
Don't bring that up. In any event, is there further discussion here? They're not looking for any variance for the 1.5 standard is the finding would be appropriate if the proposed alteration or addition, in this case a barn, would not render the use of the parcel substantially more detrimental to the area in which it's located under the factors, light, noise, that sort of thing, the factors enumerated.
traffic.
I don't see an issue here. What kind of a barn is there? What's it to be used for?
Horse,
A horse, a real barn then.
yes.
We had a barn before us a couple of years ago and it was for 24 cars or something, so it wasn't quite a barn, but.
Well, I was thinking about that a little bit. So I'm assuming the abutters are notified.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Oh, yeah.
and then we should ask for
Yeah,
public
Oh, I
comment.
sure will. I sure, yes. It's a good time to do it. Is there anybody in attendance to speak for or against the application as filed? For the record?
Tom, this is Kevin O'Neill, 17 Buddhist Drive.
Yes, thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm in full support of this proposal.
Can you tell us why?
No reason not to be. Diane walked me through the plans and seems very reasonable, good use of the space, and really no concerns at all.
Okay, thank you. When I saw Mr. O'Neill hanging out remotely, I was hoping maybe he was gonna join the zoning board, but just scoping out a meeting, then he'd write a nice letter to Paul saying, hey, can I be appointed? But I guess that's not the case tonight.
Well, hasn't said no.
Sounds like you need help.
Yeah, well, yeah, we do. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Anybody else to speak in favor of or against the
I'm
application?
in favor of the applicant.
Mr. Wiggins?
I'm in favor of the applicant.
All right, you get a vote of confidence from from Mr. Wiggins as well. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, is there a motion to close the public hearing on this matter?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And I will second that.
Mr. Wren, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Novell votes yes as well. There's a motion on the table for a finding that this proposed addition as shown on the plan of record that I identified will not render this parcel substantially more detrimental to the area.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second that motion.
Is there any discussion?
No.
I'm very comfortable with this. Mr. Wren, how do you vote on that finding?
I'm comfortable also, so I vote yes.
Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Thank you very much. Sorry to keep you. But it wasn't late, actually. 1 hour is not terrible, so.
We've had worse.
Thank you very much for your patience. And good luck.
Thank you.
We'll draft this up in the next 2 weeks and get it posted. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
And Kevin, that offer's still open, Kevin Scott. Oh, well.
I didn't know I was on
He's
the
still on
planning
planning.
He's on planning board.
He's still on planning.
Kevin's on planning board.
Administrative assistant.
I know, I blame the fact that she had to come here on the planning board.
Sorry? Do what we can.
I'm just.
We had to react, when the legislature doesn't act until,
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the fact that it was zoned for 60
That's
years.
right,
and,
that's right, that's right,
I just find that
that's right, Paul.
fascinating.
I'm, the in-person meeting, now I'm back in full swing.
Good. That's right. Is this your first meeting
My first in-person,
since COVID?
yep,
Very good. We expect to be written about on the Peter blog.
yep, that's right.
All right.
Right, and hopefully all the other boards will follow suit.
Oh, right. Paul, are other meetings following suit or
They,
we don't yet?
Well, we have set up meetings here for you and planning board. Although now with this, I need to,
extension, he just approved the remote meeting.
I think select board is staying remote for their exec session next week, I thought, right?
Yeah, but the governor just approved
yeah,
I think cities and towns are allowed to stay remote.
I'll coordinate with the chair and see, with Tim Griffin and see what he wants to do.
Hopefully, hopefully it'll be in person.
Yeah, I don't know, I have to look at it. I don't know when this is extended to. Peter?
2022.
Really?
2022.
The whole year? Wow.
Really?
Really?
I'll have to look at that. I didn't even read that this morning.
I didn't have a chance to.
I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
part of it, Peter could be right.
That's right,
They extended it pretty long.
that's right, we need to have in-person meetings, we need to be a mix of hybrid, to be, some people can go in person, some people can view it on Zoom.
We'll have to continue to build on this and,
I guess.
you know,
I mean,
give,
we have to solve a couple of wrinkles.
They need speakers.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
With that air conditioner on, that was tough to
I
hear.
could barely hear and yeah, my hearing's not wonderful, but yeah, I could use a boost there.
Well, I think we're
we
ready.
have
Yeah.
speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy
When
to
is the
plug them
select
in.
board, when is the select board gonna go back to in-person?
I don't know, I
Thought I was told in the conversation today that they were gonna stay remote for the next meeting next week, and then I don't know what's happening after that.
yeah,
I could be
EDC's
wrong.
meeting
Let us know,
live.
let us know.
EDC, Economic Development Commission's meeting right now as well, in
In
person.
person.
I don't know how they're doing, if they're doing a hybrid or not.
They're at town hall, you said.
Yeah, they're up in our.
Do you have to run over there?
I am not, I'm going home.
He's going south.
I'm heading back
Is there
south.
any other business tonight that we need?
No, no bills.
We still have minutes outstanding, but I didn't,
I
I didn't
am, I
get to
am,
the last two. And
yeah, well,
this
that's
is a-
just not, unfortunately, that just has to be
I
on the
know.
back burner, but we're getting closer. Only been rejected twice now, but darn it, 3 times gonna be a charm.
Come on.
Yes,
a new person.
we've started interviews, so we've had some good candidates.
Is there a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Mr. Wren, how do you vote at 8:11?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Tenore?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. The meeting is, of the Norton Zoning Board of Appeals is closed. Our next meeting is July 21. Thank you very much.